Hello, everyone. This is Will.
This is Alex.
Welcome back to another episode of They Mostly Come Out at Night.
Mostly.
God, I can't wait to get into this one. So before we get into it, please go to all your podcasting streaming services, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, wherever you listen to it.
All your YouTube zones.
YouTube is
your
great
web zones.
too. Yeah, go to YouTube. We're on there too. Just anywhere you get podcast, your favorite podcast, we're on there too. So maybe give us a like, listen, follow, and we really appreciate it. Any support is good support, and so yeah, thank you guys. But that's all I have to say about that. So, holy
my
shit.
only bit of housekeeping, so to speak.
Oh yes,
This is more shout outs to one of you, because someone commented on our video review of Impulse, and they said that they went to see that movie when it came out on a date.
Oh, okay, yeah. I read
When they
that
were
comment, yeah.
when they were 17, they saw that movie before they had dinner. I'm envious. And they said it's truly disturbing but strangely sexy. I like that because it's very much the kind of movie I would have taken someone to see on a date.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think I would have too. I kind of am. I like you said, I'm like kind of envious that you got to see it in theaters.
I think it's wild that you got to see that in theaters. Yeah,
that's kind of crazy to me, and I kind of like that. Like,
yeah,
I would have loved to see that on a big screen.
because that is 100% the kind of thing I would have told. I would have gone to see on a date as well.
Like, if I had the bankroll to put that movie on a screen, I probably would. It's so well done. It's such a good movie.
But that's my only bit of housekeeping.
Yeah, so shout out.
Thank
you for the comment. And for all your comments, for your suggestions. Thank everyone in the community. It's been awesome, and we can't wait to see where we go from here. The growth has been awesome as we roll into the new year. I just want to say I appreciate all of you. Yeah, that's it for the housekeeping stuff.
Yeah.
Let's get into our review.
Soul Survivor.
Or a critique. Well, it's not really a critique because we're going to gush about this movie.
I am going to gush
about
this one.
It's a gusher. So Soul...
term.
Here's a gusher for you.
We have the Rambler and the Gusher.
The Rambler and the Gusher. Hell yeah. So Soul Survivor, 1984. I do have to really quickly. Sorry, let me pull this up.
Tell me,
I want to get his name right.
Tell me, Brewski.
So, so Tom Eberhardt, and I hope I'm saying that right. Damn, this guy has some pretty good credentials. I'm not gonna lie. One being he directed Captain Ron.
I adore Captain Ron.
Captain Ron is awesome. I don't care what you say about it. I know a lot of people don't like that movie.
Listen,
but
you either get it or you don't.
Kurt Russell is fucking incredible.
And I fucking
love Kurt Russell.
Oh my god.
He also directed, and not a lot of people, we were just talking about this. He also directed Without a Clue. Great Sherlock Holmes movie with Michael Caine and Ben Kingsley. Really well done. He also directed The Night Before with Keanu Reeves, and Night of the Comet, which is also a really good one, kind of like a post-apocalyptic
really fun
movie.
Post-apocalypse with Valley Girls.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, check him out. I mean, honestly, I kind of just had to get a shout out. We don't get a lot of well-known directors
who later go on to
they direct some indie shit like this, and then they go on to direct actual studio produced movies.
Yeah,
we don't get that a lot, so I just wanted to shout that out. And go check out. I would recommend go check out Without a Clue and Captain Ron. If you haven't seen Captain Ron, please go watch it.
Please.
It's so good.
If you get it, you get it. That's all I gotta say.
It's great. Martin Short, Kurt Russell. It's awesome. Comedy gold. So we watched Soul Survivor. And yeah, let's just get into it because it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
I got a lot to say about it at the end. So, yeah, this is a good one.
Starts with kind of reminds me of I mean the mood is immediate. because it's just this woman on a bus. She's like got blood on her. She's got a pistol, and it's just like shots of like empty, completely empty streets. There's like mannequins in store windows looking unsettling. You also get to see that it is a Christmas set.
Yeah, we didn't mean that for that to happen.
I did not mean that,
but
no,
it is Christmas adjacent. I mean, for all you holiday lovers, this
It
is
just listen.
it just happened to be around Christmas. So yeah, it's technically a holiday movie.
It does fit because there's a lot of random Christmas shenanigans in it.
Totally didn't mean for that to happen, but it did. So she like is all nervous in the bus, and she's like rubbing blood on her sweater, and then she like pulls the hammer back on a revolver, and then a woman wakes up from a nightmare
Screaming.
and so she she like goes over to like her desk and like starts having this vision of like an airplane coming towards her.
Yeah, it's an airplane taking off.
And so she like is all freaked out and everything, so she calls her boss.
She starts
Oh no, she starts like frantically drawing something.
She starts drawing on like a sketchboard thing, and you see like debris.
Yeah, and I love, man,
because this is an indie, like a very low budget independent film, so obviously like
well, it's kind of crazy. So like just to get you prepared for it, if you're not into this kind of thing, that's totally fine. But it is like kind of like an indie slow burn.
Yes.
It's like there's not like a ton of like horrific like things. It's very atmospheric.
I mean, we kind of made the comparison. It Follows is a very similar, like the way it's done to this.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if they didn't like see this movie and want to like and at least draw some inspiration from it. Now, this also apparently, I don't know if it's true or not, but on IMDb, the trivia does say that it also inspired Final Destination
Because they both have a plane crash.
which it does deal with premonitions, a plane crash, and then certain.
I mean, Final Destination.
You'll notice certain plot points are similar.
Final Destination is less premonition. It's more like, well, I mean, it does have premonition.
He does have a premonition, and they get off the plane, but this is kind of different.
But they don't get on the plane.
Yeah, because this is someone having a premonition, but it still happens.
Yes, it's
so
like
we'll explain, but
because the person who has a premonition in this is not the sole survivor.
I will say that's why I don't know how credible that information is, but they are fairly similar.
Yeah,
you could make a connection.
The death part,
yes,
is both.
Yeah.
And the other comparison I would make is Carnival Souls.
Yeah,
has a similar thing, except that one it's a car accident that the woman survives.
Well, anything with like this like looming like omnipresent like just absolute evil,
where it's like someone who should have died doesn't, then spooky shit. There's also a Twilight Zone episode about like test pilots who like end up surviving this like test that they shouldn't survive, and then like throughout the episode, like one by one they get like erased from existence.
It's great.
It's great. But this isn't that same line, but like because it's low budget, so you're watching this and you're like, you're thinking, how the hell are they going to show a plane crash? It's. I mean, they're not gonna have a big budget. They're not gonna.
Well,
show
they
a plane
can't have
exploding.
like shrapnel from the. They can't like
You can't see it.
They can't do like the backlot thing of like WB where they have the giant plane crash and.
But you see like
or Universal, I should say, not WB.
Yeah.
But
you see like debris, and it's just like, it's so fucking good because you see like plane seats and like bodies and like teddy bears with blood on them.
Well, it's crazy, and then you see like decapitated legs and like just really bloodied bodies everywhere.
Fire, and
there's a guy that like has his like arms all like weird, and then you see his foot like in like on an angle.
Yeah, it's all like twisted
in the frame. So they do a really good job at like conveying that this is like a horrific plane crash with like no money.
And then you just see like this woman like in her seat, intact, just like clutching her seat.
Well, and she's staring at a guy whose like intestines are like completely like out of his body.
Yeah.
He's like completely decapitated from the waist
And
down.
just zoom in on his like head, on his like eyes. But as this woman's seeing this, she's like writing things down, like sole survivor, and then she writes down a name. And then that's when she calls somebody.
Yeah, that's when she calls. I guess it's like her producer or something, because she's like an
agent.
She's like an aging actress.
Yeah.
So she's not like as like well known, like has no like not a lot of notoriety.
Right.
So she's doing like this.
It's a coffee commercial.
Kind of just give you background. She's doing a coffee commercial because she's trying to like revive her acting career in a way.
But the woman who's like in charge of this commercial is who she has.
Yeah, is the woman that survives the plane crash.
Because that's why she calls the agent and is like, hey, you know that woman like who runs the commercial or whatever? Like, do you have her number?
Well, she asked like if he knows if her plane is taken off yet.
Yeah.
Because she's traveling to film the commercial.
Well, she's traveling somewhere.
When he's like, how would I know like where she's at? Like I have no idea. I know she's coming in soon, but like I'm not sure when. And then you see
like, she asked to get her number to call her, and the guy's like, no, like it's the middle of the night. I'm not like,
yeah,
just because you're having another bad dream.
Well, and he just kind of passes it off like she's crazy, like because like she's built a reputation that
For being a
she's
drunk.
like a drunk and she's crazy.
You'll see why.
Yeah. So they like just brush it off, and then you finally see the plane take off.
Actually take off, and you see like
You see like an air traffic controller, and he's monitoring the flight, and they're like everything's going smoothly.
and then the like captain or whatever on the flight is like, he starts like saying like, hey, there's a weird like a white light just lit up on the cockpit, and then you see like a low altitude warning,
And then there's like an SOS, and then it just goes dark.
and the plane just vanishes off the radar.
And then this is one of my favorite shots in the whole movie. It's so fucking well done. I don't know how they captured it with like this low budget. It's pretty incredible. But they're showing the air traffic controller, and the line has just gone dead, and then it just disappears from the radar, and then it like keeps going, and then you slowly see
For a brief moment
you see like a skull
Yeah.
with like red eyes
on the screen.
in the radar.
Yeah.
And then it just goes off screen.
Then yeah,
And I live for that shit. I love when they don't dwell on like horrific shit.
so
like that.
quick.
And they don't ever explain that, which is great.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah, no, there's nothing. It's just like, but it's like, you know, it's like Red Lemonade says, you might not notice, but your brain did.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, like death is present.
Yeah.
That omnipresent death is there.
And so
Just snatched the plane out of the sky.
we get a scene of the
It's like her in the ambulance,
yeah.
and she's woken up, and she asks like, they tell her like, yeah, the plane crashed and all this.
Well,
stuff.
she's like fairly unharmed. Like I
Yeah.
don't think she has like anything.
Nothing.
Well, and then like it goes to the doctor, and like he's monitoring her, but like she didn't really have that many. They're just
No.
like monitoring her.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay, I think you're
He
fine.
basically says like that. It's like, you know, her back's a little hurt, but that's it.
Yeah, well, and he also explains that there's a thing called survivor's guilt.
Because he keeps asking her how she's feeling, like
Right.
mentally.
Right. Because, you know, survivor's guilt is a real thing. You know,
People who, because
where-
yeah, he tells her you were the only person.
and it is, I mean, I've heard of it actually happening where if you're like the sole survivor of like a horrific accident, you get kind of survivor's guilt that
Yeah.
you're the only one that survived
You
out of
feel-
like so many people that died.
Yeah, you feel like unworthy.
Yeah, it's
One of the things she says is, initially she says it's like, you know, she's like, one time I bought a dress. I ordered it through like a catalog or something, and the dress showed up, but they never charged me because there was a glitch in the system.
well, and like speaking of that survivor's guilt thing, she doesn't care.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she cares obviously that she's alive, but she doesn't have survivor's guilt.
No, she does say that she has like that weird feeling
Yeah,
of like when she got a free dress,
but she can't explain it.
where it's like there's a glitch, and it's like you feel that like almost like thing of like, I did something wrong,
So like,
but it wasn't my fault.
yeah. So she's gonna go like through the back way to avoid the paparazzi
Yeah, 'cause
because
there's
they all want to like.
reporters.
they all want her story.
She's having her neighbor who lives across the street pick her up.
Yeah. So I should say also the reason they mentioned that dress thing is the doctor tells her which way to go, and he's like,
Don't. He basically tells her, like, don't dwell on it. Like, don't beat yourself up. It's just luck.
well, and she's like, well, that's the thing. Like with that dress, they eventually did charge me for it. Everything catches up eventually.
The glitch in the system caught up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Foreshadowing. Oh my god.
What the fuck?
Another movie that actually understands how to correctly foreshadow. Oh my god.
Listen, the movie starts with a foreshadow.
Yeah.
Like it's all there. But yeah, she leaves. She starts walking like down the hallway, and she walks past a room that says like a necropsy or something like that. And she just like looks at it, and you just see like a quick shadow. Just
They play a lot with the shadow thing. Like I said, it's like it's kind of a slow burn, so there's not like it's always looming, but it doesn't really pounce until like fairly into the movie.
yeah, and it builds up. Like
Yeah.
the early parts of the movie are a lot more like casual and kind of fun, but it's just like
There is a fairly large kill count at the end too. Like I mean, it gets pretty nuts at the end.
honey.
So there's a good payoff, is what I'm
Yes.
saying. Like there is, like it is a slow burn, but there is a good payoff. So
But yeah, she and then like, you know, there's nothing there.
so I guess she hears like two doctors just talking about like something. I can't remember. It's not important. But then she goes to the garage bay, and she's like looking for a friend. Oh, I should say her friend comes in because it's taking too long for her to get there, so she's not there. The friend isn't there to pick. The neighbor isn't there to pick her up,
Yeah, it's just an empty like loading bay,
and so she like is looking around, and then she sees this little girl
just standing there.
just standing there, and like she's like dripping wet,
Yeah,
and like she's like, "Are you okay? Like what's going
her
on?"
hair, everything, her hands, and she has this like her skin's like almost like kind of blue.
Yeah, she has this just non like emotional like
Just
expression.
staring at her, but she like walks kind of behind this like big truck,
And it's like blinking.
and when she walks behind it, it starts reversing, almost like someone like accidentally like turned the parking brake down. It starts reversing and almost hits her.
So yeah, she backs out in the nick of time, but like it like crashes into the bay.
And she's like, "What the fuck?" And goes up, opens the door.
She's like, "You could have killed someone." There's no one in the driver's seat.
Yeah, her friend shows up, and she's just like, "Yeah, this truck almost hit me," and like, but there's no one in there. And her friend's like, "Oh well, you know, sometimes the brakes fail on these things." So they go home. She talks about how she's kind of got a thing for the doctor.
Yeah, and she hopes he calls because like she's like
We don't really see it because she's been in the hospital for like a couple days.
Well, she hopes like there's something because he would always check on her, so
Yeah.
she thought there was something like building there, but
Right.
he didn't ask her out. It's kind of important for the rest of the movie, obviously. So
Yeah, because she goes home. She gets kind of like back to work. You know, doctor calls her. They set up a thing.
well, and we should say like kind of like some creepy shit like happens around her. Like she has one of those cat clocks that like the eyes move, and like all of a sudden it just stops at one point and it's just staring like right at her.
Because you see, well, even before that, when she's on the phone, there's like a shot where it's like you see her on her bed, and then it goes out in like her stairway, then it goes down the stairs, and then it's like pointing like at her front door, and you see like just like a shadow like kind of move past the window.
And
She hears a noise,
that's when she goes into the kitchen, and that's when the cat clock like stares at
and
her.
it just starts staring at her, and the clock stops.
And then the shadow like goes in front of the window, and she's like, "Who's there? Like what's going on?" And then it's kind of a fake out jump scare because it's the neighbor.
Yeah,
And it's a neighbor and one of her friends.
one of her friends that she's met at a party, and the party friend is she is, as the kids would say, crunchy.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I'm like, she's like, yeah, she's super into like new age stuff and all this stuff, and she's kind of like asking her like, well, how do you feel like being like the only person? Like, do you think it was like fate or this? And she just says like, I don't know. I just have this like weird, this strange feeling going on. After this, I'm pretty sure it's where she's at the office at her work. Am I wrong?
Yeah, is this when they're trying to film the commercial?
I believe so.
Because of the date with the doctor. Because she tells, yeah. Because remember,
No.
on the
I forgot. She gets a phone call
from the
from the woman with the
'cause-
premonition.
Mhm. So yeah, because you're right, but yeah, you did almost skip over the scene, which is kind of important. So the older like aging actress calls her and is like, "Hey, I just wanted to make sure you're okay." She's like really awkward over
Yeah.
the phone, and she's just like, is everything okay? And like the woman's like, "Yeah, like why I'm fine. Why wouldn't I be
Yeah.
fine?"
She's like, and then she basically tells her, well, I just wanted you to know, like, keep your doors locked.
Yeah, well, because she knows like some bad shit is about to happen.
She's seen things, yeah.
Yeah. So, and like just to kind of give you context, she also talked to the doctor about coming to the studio
Yes.
to see the commercial. That's why he's going to be there in the next scene.
Wow, I can't believe that.
Yeah, almost missed that. So now it's kind of funny because it transitions immediately to the commercial.
Yeah, it's like
that
it's
they're
and it's
filming.
like filmed like
And the aspect ratio changes.
changes to a commercial, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like this woman, this like decaf coffee commercial.
Because they're like working and like, oh, well, if I drink coffee, I stay up all night.
Not with
she's
this, it's decaf.
It's decaf. And they play like they have like the subtitles on the bottom.
She's like 9 out of 10 doctors, and they're like, "God damn it!" Like you,
Yeah, she
like
keeps-
this is not. She keeps like messing up the lines, and she like seems nervous.
Yeah, but they cut back and it's like the set, and they're like, all right, take 68. Like, but yeah, she's like nervous.
Well, and they're in like the producer's booth, and they're like, "What's going on with her?" And like the woman's like, "I think it's me. Like I think she's like nervous because I'm."
She tried
here."
calling me
Yeah,
like last night, and they're like, what are you talking about? And
she's like, "It was nothing, but like I think she's just nervous because I'm here."
then this morning she was nervous around me again, and all this stuff. But then the doctor shows
Well,
up there,
and they basically say like if she can't get the commercial right, they're just gonna bag it.
yeah,
Like there's no point in like filming it if
it's not usable,
the actress isn't gonna like the actor isn't gonna work on it.
right?
So, yeah, the doctor shows up. They go on a date.
Well, date to the park. They kiss.
They kiss, and they get horny real quick.
Immediately, they're like, okay, like,
they're like,
whose place is closest?
Well, like he's like, my place is a mess. You'll have to come by later. And she's like, mine's neat as a pin. Do you want to come now? And like, and he's like, oh hell yeah, but I have to work at like 1 a.m.
Yeah, I gotta work
And
soon.
she's like, okay, well we better hurry then. They're just ready.
yeah, and they're like, okay, like I'll drive my car there, and like I'll follow you. So we split up, start going their separate ways, and she starts hearing like someone saying her name.
Was it when what's her? It's her name is like
I know he calls her Dee Dee.
Dee Dee.
Deborah?
Deborah. I think
Debbie?
it's Deborah.
Yeah.
Because it keeps saying her full name. It doesn't
Yeah.
say Dee Dee. It just says her full name.
And she hears it, and you see like this old man in the park.
This is where it kind of gets It Follows vibes, because it's just an old man like at the other end of the park, just standing and staring at her.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Yeah.
it seems like no one else is distracted by
No,
it.
everyone. There's like people playing like football in the park. No one.
Like
Yeah.
it's just there, and it's like so out of place. I love this kind of horror because it's like something's wrong. It's so like clear that something evil is right there, because no one else can see it except for her, and it's just like omnipresent.
Yeah, but she runs away.
There's something threatening about it not being like, immediately like pouncing and like being super threatening.
It's
It's
like-
just watching.
It's like it's almost like it's sizing her up.
Yeah.
so to speak, until it fully lets go.
So next scene is them in bed, and they're talking about, he like they make a joke about how like he's psychoanalyzing like her and stuff like this,
Yeah.
and like, saying like they make a like an orgasm joke basically,
Yes.
saying that
Yeah.
they didn't just have sex, she has like a heart attack or something like that. Like some, they make a quick joke about it, but then he has to go to work, so he like starts getting ready.
She says something because he basically forgets. He
Yeah.
forgets he has to go to work. She says something, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" And he gets up and starts getting dressed, and like she's like, "Are you like?" And then he's like, "Oh, let's well, how about we get lunch?" And she's like, "You mean like you're gonna go to work now and then get off work and go to lunch?"
And he's like, yeah, I have to work at like a
I have to work a
split
split
shift.
shift because we lost some people at the hospital. And she's like, "What happened?" It's like, "Oh well, they lost a body in the morgue for about like 2 hours." It was like, "Yeah, it was a girl who drowned.
Yeah.
Her parents were furious, like all this stuff." And just like zooms in on her, and she has that like
Like,
moment of like, oh,
oh no.
oh no.
Oh crap. Oh boy. So let's see, what's the next scene? Is it um why am I blanking on what the next scene
I
is?
think the neck, because the one thing I do know, I think happens after this is where she's like going to work, and
Is this where like they're trying to do the commercial again, and the woman, the older actor like keeps like side eyeing her
well, right before
while they're
this,
filming her?
she's going to work, and remember she almost hits the guy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So she almost gets in an accident because she like is just like standing in the middle of the road.
Yeah,
I'm gonna call it an it because it's that's exactly what it is. So
but yeah, he's
she like veers around it, and then like it's like, what, are you crazy? Like you
are you
could
trying
have
to kill
killed someone.
me or yourself?
And it just like turns around and just stares at her.
she just
It's
drives
like,
away.
okay, that's creepy as fuck. I'm bye.
And then you just see the shot like as the car gets farther and farther, and that you're just standing in the middle of the road, staring at her. And then yeah, this is when she gets to work again, and now the woman's just side eyeing her.
Well, and like almost like basically unable to do the commercial because
Yeah.
she keeps like messing up. She keeps looking over, not saying the right
She's-
line.
But eventually, she just gives up. She just
Yeah.
like stands up and leaves. And then so she goes looking for her.
Well, yeah, and like Denise or Deborah goes to look for the actress, and
Like her name was Denise.
Denise. Yeah, so she goes to look, and she's like, I need to solve this because we need to get this commercial done. So she goes and finds her, and the woman explains that like she's had premonitions like
Yeah, she basically says like
before.
when she was like 17 or whatever, she had a premonition about like a co-star or something in her movie that they were going to give birth and there was going to be something wrong.
Yeah,
with
and then
the birth.
and then they lost the baby like
Yeah.
shortly after.
And after that, like, I started drinking
Well, and everyone just thinks she's like this crazy like drunk.
because she keeps seeing these things. And
Yeah.
of course, no one.
She's like, but no one will listen. No one knows what's
Yeah.
going on, and you better like basically just gives her a warning.
That like she basically says like it's inevitable and like no one will know, no one that
Well, and it'll eliminate anyone that gets in its way.
yeah, that it's unstoppable and anyone who tries to get in the way will get eliminated. And
Yeah.
like she's like, what are you talking about? She's just like, oh, it's nothing, like don't worry about it.
So she leaves, and then the Denise tries to get back in the elevator to go back down to the studio, and the elevator is like slowly going like floor by floor,
She hits the fourth floor.
and then it passes her floor, goes to the basement.
And it's like an underground parking garage.
So she like starts to walk to the escalator, and like she's looking around. It's kind of creepy because
There's only like 2 cars.
I love like what they do with this because like every location seems like very empty.
Yeah.
Especially when she's like out and about, like everything.
Don't forget,
seems...
as she's walking around, she hears
Denise.
her name being called, and like
And she goes to the escalators, and she like looks up, and there's just like a guy at the top of this escalator, like just staring.
and she's just like, okay, I don't have any money. Like
Just
I have friends on the
let's just
way.
forget you saw
Yeah.
me. Like we're fine.
she goes the other way, and starts like running towards the elevator. And she gets in the elevator, and you just see like her like pressing like the alarm button and everything, trying to get this elevator to go, and the guy just keeps slowly coming at her.
And then finally the doors close as he's like right in front of the door.
And she gets up to like her actual floor, and everyone's been like looking for her, like, what the hell? Like the woman left and all this stuff. Then she goes to like have lunch with the doctor. And this is when she kind of like, it's like, again, the mood is great because it's like raining. Everyone's just like out of the rain.
Well, and she finally gets like like, she's like, I can finally describe like kind of how I'm feeling. It's like when you stole something and your mom knew you stole something.
And you were just waiting.
You're just waiting to get caught.
Or
like you're caught, but like you're waiting for the punishment. Basically.
You're waiting for your mom. You're waiting for like for the moment that they like
like
call
actually
you
like,
out or punish you. And because she also tells them about the guy on the road, and the guy in the parking lot and all this stuff, and like just that all this crazy stuff's happening, and
he doesn't really know how to take it at the moment. Like just like he kind of
how do you take it?
Understandably, he probably thinks it sounds kind of crazy. Because like how do you process something like that?
Exactly. There's no way to like logically process it.
Yeah, exactly.
But as they're having lunch, there's a guy.
She stares over and there's a guy just standing there,
out on the sidewalk.
Well, he's like in a t-shirt and jeans, and it's like pouring rain.
And the guy's like, geez, like, he better get out of the rain. And they just kind of keep talking, but you just keep showing that guy just standing there in the fucking rain, in his t-shirts, just staring at her. And you know what's going on.
Kind of remind me of that scene, like, you know, in It Follows, when she's in the classroom and she looks over and it's just like the old woman, like, slowly making its way towards the fucking school classroom.
Great stuff.
Because it's omnipresent. Like, it's not like super threatening. It doesn't look like exactly evil, but there's something so unsettling about it.
And it keeps getting more sinister.
Yeah,
it's like you've already had a guy who's like straight up and coming at her, and the atmosphere in the movie just keeps getting more and more oppressive. But then,
is this when like the morgue scene?
No, this is the where her neighbor is having a strip.
Oh, they're playing strip poker. So her neighbor's like a young like woman.
Yes.
Like, you know,
just out of high school.
Yeah, just out of high school. So she has like a bunch of friends over while her parents are out, and they're playing strip poker. And Denise is obviously like understandably freaked out, doesn't want to stay at home. She just wants company for the night.
Yeah.
So she goes over to her neighbor's house, and the neighbor like, you know, shoos all her friends away because she doesn't want Denise to know they're all there.
Because they're also drinking. Don't forget.
Exactly. So like they're underage and they're drinking.
I didn't even think about that originally, but yeah.
And so that's why she doesn't want Denise to know.
Yeah, I didn't even make that connection.
So like Denise walks in and sees the guy like collecting his shoes.
He's like, well, I can't find my other shoe.
And it's just like a quick funny scene. But then they're talking, and I think like Denise tries to tell her.
Well, she tries telling her like that she's like. She just feels like empty.
Well, and she says she like something about how she shouldn't drink, but she does anyway.
Yeah.
And
she basically tells her, that she feels like empty and kind of all this stuff. And the friend's just like, oh, like, so you have like late senioritis? She's like, I had senioritis. I had a whole year where I felt like shit. Like, whatever. It's no big deal.
And then the neighbor goes into the other room, and Denise falls asleep on the couch.
And so the neighbor is like, haha. Because earlier in the movie, they did establish that Denise has a pool. And so the friend like writes a note saying like, I'll be at my parents or whatever.
Yeah, she like
says, I'll be out.
Yeah, I'll be out with friends, basically.
And
is what it says.
She goes across the street. And right when she like goes in, it like shows a shot of like the bedroom window at the very top of the house. You just see like a figure move across the way.
So the neighbor comes into the house and you hear something shatter upstairs. She goes like halfway up the stairs, and then for some reason just like is like, whatever.
Nothing.
And so she goes back down, and she's like looking around, and then she sees like the back door, and she opens it, and there's like a pool and everything, and she's like, okay, and then so she's gonna go in it, I guess, but she goes to close the door, and someone like pounces on her.
Yeah, you see like the reflection of the I'm pretty sure it's the guy she almost ran over.
Yeah.
And yeah, he pounces on her, and then like you see Denise wake up, and like she goes to like look for where her friend went, and it keeps intercutting this with like her friend like struggling and like some figure like drowning
her into the pool.
in the pool.
And then finally, like it finally like succeeds in drowning her, and like just lets her legs slip into the pool, and you just see her floating body with all the rain and everything.
And then Denise like opens the front door of her friend's house and like looks across the way to her house, and you see
the figure,
and he's like looking at her, and he like looks almost visibly like enraged, like angry. And so she closes the door, calls the cops,
and she like locks the door. So she makes her to lock the door, and then calls the cops and grabs a knife, and is like,
After that, she goes to the she goes back to the front of the house and like is like standing in front of the door and like thinks about it and like unlocks it, and then something starts
turning the knob,
slowly turning the knob, so she locks it back.
And so the cops get there, and they just basically say that the neighbor is now missing.
Yeah.
Like they don't know where she went. She left a note, but they have no idea where she is.
Well, the main like guy is like saying like, well, because the doctor's talking to the cop, and he's just like, okay, well, you can't just like discount this. And the guy tells him that, well, okay, but she is on this like antidepressant,
Yeah,
and she's drinking.
Right.
So her mental state's not there.
Well, and he's like, did you know she was on this antidepressant? Yeah. And like the doctor's like, I didn't.
And then he asks him like, did you check out like the man she says she saw? And they're like, yeah, it's him. And he has like an ID, and it's this highway like maintenance worker or something.
Well, and he thought it was weird because like they went looking for him because he went missing. And then they found him in his car.
He had a heart attack while driving.
He had died of a heart attack.
And rolled off the road and, like, hit a tree. And he's been dead for, like, 5 days. They just found him.
Yeah, so
like, no way.
They're like, there's no way she saw this guy.
Yeah.
He's, like, he's been missing. And then, like, that's when the doctor goes to the morgue.
Well, no. First he goes...
Oh, sorry, yeah.
He takes her to his apartment.
Yeah.
And this is when she's basically completely, like, slowly losing it. And that's when he asks her, well, what about the pills? And, like, you could kill yourself doing this. And she tells him, like, I'm not, like, can you please, like, look into this?
Yeah, like just,
I'm not lying. Like,
just do this for me. Like there's something going on.
I did. He's like, are you sure you saw him? You saw this guy? She's like, yes, I'm 100% sure I saw this guy.
So now the doctor's like, okay, fine, I'll investigate.
I'll go look.
And so he goes, this is when he goes to the morgue.
Oh, also, because he did when they were having lunch. One of the things when she mentioned like that feeling that she was having about like being caught, is he mentions like, well, I didn't want to mention this before, but people with survivor's guilt, oftentimes they end up dead within like
within like a day or two between when they like survived.
Well, he said it was like 24 months or something.
Oh, yeah, the max is like 24 months.
Because either they commit suicide or they start like living recklessly because they think that they're invincible. Or they're like, they feel so unworthy and so like the fact that they shouldn't be alive that they start putting themselves in harm's way.
Yeah.
Unconsciously start putting themselves in harm's way. Because one of the things when she's like there at his apartment, is she starts saying like, what if it's not suicide? Just a thought, like, what if all those soul survivors, it's not suicide? What if it just caught up to them? And he's like, what is it? She's like, come on, I'm just like spitballing, like,
right.
But we know,
because that sounds mental, but
we know.
Yeah, at least in the context of this movie.
But yeah, he says like, I'll look into this. So he goes to the morgue.
Yeah, so I love
we see our fucking guy.
The fucking mortician is
because he's like, the way he's introduced, he's looking at a dead body of like a teenager. He's like, look at that. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine like killing yourself because you got a bad grade in like an AP test?
He's like so cynical.
And he's like, what would he know is in 5 years, no one would give a shit what you got on an AP test.
So he basically said that it was really weird though, because when they found the body,
Well, because he's like saying like the doctor's like, yeah, I don't know, I don't really trust the cops on this, and he's like, well, yeah, I don't either. They messed up on their report. And then that's when he tells him.
he's like, what? Because there's blood, like all the blood had flowed into their legs.
Yes.
So it was weird because like the blood didn't flow out of their body; it flowed only to their legs.
Yes, because. Well, the other thing is, he also mentions that when they found him, he was covered in mud and he was wet.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, if he was like he died in his car, why would he be covered in mud and wet?
Mm-hmm.
And that he was also, when they found him, he wasn't like he wasn't sitting in the driver's seat. Like they said, they found him laying like across the front of the car, like in the front of the car.
Weird.
Yeah, it's just a little off, you know?
So is this where she goes back to the neighbor's house?
I think she gets first she gets a phone call from the actress, the premonition.
Oh, that's right. And then like she's doing the.
Or she says, I'm trying to remember what she. I cannot fucking believe it, because I know she basically tells her like that she's doomed.
Yeah, there was like no escaping it.
Yeah. Unless she says like, did you have a visitor?
Isn't this also where she's like preparing, like getting
A little later.
Okay.
But yeah, she's like, she
I
basically
don't want
asks
to give it
her,
away, so I just want to make sure.
did you have a visitor? Like, did you have an unwelcome guest last night in your house? And she's like, yeah. Like, how did you know? She's like, it's too late.
Yeah, like you're pretty much fucked.
You're gone.
You're fucked at this point.
And yeah, this is when she starts going back to her friends' house.
Yeah, and then it's like ransacked.
Yeah.
There's like the knives are all over the place.
Don't forget, as she's writing there, she's in this guy's taxi.
Oh
the
yeah,
guy's-
and he's like
He's listening to like some radio show, and it's like a guy like, asking like random women callers like, what do you do to turn your man on?
and the taxi driver is super weird because he leans back and he's like, what do you do to turn your man on?
And she just like won't answer him, and then he's like, he gets her to her house, and he's like, okay, I'll be $42. She's like looking, he's like, if you can't pay, like, we can make an arrangement.
Yeah, what a fucking sleaze bag.
She's like, yeah, that's really funny, and just like throws the money at him. And then he's like, can't hurt to try, I'll see you in church.
Yeah.
And drives away.
So she goes to the neighbor's house now, and again it's like ransacked, and there's like knives all over the ground, and she doesn't know why.
Knives.
Yeah.
Because yeah, as soon as he fucking pulls over,
Well, like he sees something in the distance, and it's not on screen.
Yeah, he's still listening to his fucking radio
like,
show.
He's like, oh hey, I wonder if she needs a ride, and you just like immediately fucking know what's gonna happen.
And he pulls over, and it's just the shot like pans down.
And it's her like just dead, like bloated face.
Bloated face, like drowned, bloated face, just standing there. And he's like, hey, you need a ride? Like all this stuff. And he like stands up, gets out, starts walking towards her. And it pans down, and she's holding a big knife in her hand.
Mm-hmm. So then the doctor's on his way. It cuts away.
Because he calls his home, and the operator or whatever tells him like that she basically left a message saying that she's like going back home real quick.
back home to get some things or something like that. And so he's heading back, and he
sees the taxi.
He sees the taxi on the side of the road. And so he like pulls over, and he's like, what is going on? So he kind of like searches around the area, and he finds the dead taxi driver
with his like guts hanging out, and sees that he's dead, and like walks back to the guy's car, and he grabs a gun that he had.
Yeah, a revolver
in the car. And
the
drives
same
off.
Revolver we saw
in the beginning
in the premonition. Interesting.
Yeah. he drives off, and we see the guy. They do a fucking, because earlier when she was at the house, like you see her like turn on a record,
Mm-hmm.
and when it shows the fucking taxi driver, like his dead body, like he wakes up, it like does like the record scratch,
Does like a hard record scratch.
and the scene ends. And
Is this where the aging like actress is getting ready for her
yeah,
debut?
her debut, yeah. She's like in her room, like on her makeup desk, talking like a teddy bear, like it's time, like you got the part.
You got the part. She's like just talking crazy basically, and she's taking apart this like shaving razor.
Yeah, she starts taking it apart, and immediately,
You know what's going on.
she can't handle it anymore.
So it doesn't show anything. Doctor and her meet back up, and they.
Well, no, they don't.
Oh no, they don't meet back up. You're right.
I mean, they do, but not in that way. Well,
Yeah.
because the doctor gets there.
The doctor gets there, and like he goes into her house, and he thinks it's her, and he like because he goes up to her bedroom, and he turns her around, and it's the neighbor,
Yeah,
the dead neighbor, and she stabs him,
she stabs him, and he drops his gun.
and then Denise comes out.
She sees it, grabs the gun, and like starts like walking away, and is like, "You're not her. You're not Christy."
Yeah, so she runs away, gets in the car, and starts driving.
Well, as she gets in the car, she can't start it up at first. And then
how could I forget? This is a great scene too, because that's like the taxi driver. You can tell it's the taxi driver is like so out of focus, but you see someone walking towards the car. She's trying to like, start it, and then it like reaches into her like car and tries to like pull her out, and she finally starts the car and drives away.
He does the Arthur thing.
And just like fist clench, and then like slowly releases it, because like it's kind of telling, because it clenches the fist, and then like after a minute, like it like just like it goes back to like being totally relaxed and like just
dead hand. Yeah. And yeah, she drives to the city, runs out of gas, and like she's like sitting there. She hears like all this commotion, and like gets out and like points her gun at like these 4 guys just walking around, and they're like, "What the, like, calm the fuck down, like calm down." They're like, "Gosh, you won't shoot me." They just walk away, and like, but other than them,
there's no one in the town.
Yeah, there's nobody.
And so she gets on a bus that's completely empty,
and they just drive away.
The first scene.
And you see, as they drive away, you see like a person just like standing in the sidewalk, just like watching.
And then it like slowly it starts to like limber away, but it's like the really like awkward like walking movement.
It's almost like a puppet or something.
Yeah,
they limber away, and then
we get the first.
Is that?
Well, so it does show the scene of her in the bus, like with the blood all over her, and she checks the revolver, and then she gets to the actress's house,
and the actress is just sitting there, and she's just like rambling like crazy, and then eventually she's just like, if people, it can't get me if people know.
Well, like 4 years ago I was there, and like she mentioned something about like how people are going to think she's crazy, no one's going to believe her, everything, and the actress isn't saying anything.
I halfway through the scene I was like, wait.
Oh no.
Halfway through the scene I was like, oh, I know what they're doing.
Because they already did the thing where like she was getting ready to like end herself.
Yes.
So like
they threw a lot of insanity at you so you might forget, but it was halfway through the scene when she wasn't talking and just had this like, she had that look on her face of like just not all there. And as soon as she was like grabbing the phone, and she's like, if people know, it can't get me. Like, people have to know. And
she's like starts dialing, and then like the older woman like reaches her arm up
with the revolver,
and like you can see like a slit on her wrist.
Yeah, that she did it.
And she just fires the gun, kills the girl, and then goes back into the bathroom, into the bathtub.
As you hear the dial tone, like, your call cannot be completed as dialed. Like, and then you get the morgue. and it's just all the bodies, the carnage.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know, like what the hell's going on? They all have blood in their legs.
He's talking to the police guy who was like dismissive, and he's just like telling him like this is all connected.
There's a
like,
connection. Like I don't know what it is,
all
but
the blood's in the legs.
like they're all gonna know. And he like starts like loading up his report.
he's like typing up. They're gonna know. They're gonna know something's up.
And then you just see the fucking like neighbor's body just spring up.
And then he starts turning his head to look at it.
In movie.
The end.
Dude, this movie rocks.
I love this.
It was so well done for like an indie movie. Like they did so much with so little.
No, this is one of those movies that sometimes you watch a movie and you know right away that you're gonna like it.
Well, it's one of those indie movies where you can tell it's indie, but it doesn't like take away from the movie at all.
It adds to it for me because it feels, I don't know, like the characters and the interactions feel natural.
It just felt like everyone was like on board with this movie and wanted to do it, and like you could tell that because the acting's on point, the cinematography and camera work is really well done, makeup is great. Like for an indie movie, they do such a good job because even like the dead makeup, it looks like,
especially on the neighbor,
it looks pretty legit because like they have that close up, so you need to make it look like she's actually dead, and they do a pretty good job. And like the actor who played her did a really good job of like her eyes are like wide open and she doesn't blink at all.
Yeah, eyes wide open, like her mouth's like kind of like open, and like her lips are like almost like chapped. This is one of those movies that I knew I was gonna like it right away. Like I don't know, as soon as you get that plane crash premonition and your brain makes the connection of what you're looking at, like as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay,
yeah,
I'm on board.
It's a really good watch. Like it does everything just right. It doesn't have that like weird like indie sheen.
Well, it's not.
Some indie movies have like that weird like way of like filming that just like seems off.
Well, I would say it doesn't look cheap.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
The way it's like, filmed is very professional.
Yeah, because they have a lot of panning shots. They have a lot of like
tripod
juxtaposition angles. They have like a lot of like stuff going on. Like this is someone who's pretty.
There's a handful of like really good.
Whoever was behind the camera knew how to work it.
There's a handful of really good POV shots too.
And like the soundtrack was like, you know,
it's got that fucking like droning like synth thing.
Yeah. It was there. It was subtle, but it was good. I mean, there's not like a heavy soundtrack to this.
Yeah, most of the movie is kind of funny because other than that, most of the movie is very quiet.
Yeah, but like overall,
the only thing you hear from most of the movie is just like the kind of the ambient noises.
Really well done for like an indie. Like it's just, I can't say that enough. It's just it looks good. The pacing is really great if you like slow burn movies. Like they just did a lot of things right.
Plus it's only an hour and a half.
Yeah. And he went on to direct Captain Ron, so
he made Captain Ron.
Yeah. So anyway, but I was like, I thought it was interesting too, kind of how they kind of made it seem like Death was like just puppeteering these like these bodies. Like they just,
it is.
Well, because like you think about it, they also went back. The bodies went back to where they originally died, but they were in like weirder positions.
Yeah, it's like it's just like it's. I like that it's unexplained. It's just like it's like a weird force that just took over these bodies, used them, and then just kind of like, I'm done
dumped
with
them back into like where they died originally.
Yeah, because they didn't just drop them wherever. Like the little girl, she went back to the morgue.
Yeah,
they had no fucking idea who the fuck stole her body for 2 hours or whatever.
I also like the fact that like there's no explanation for it, but like this presence gets like angry when it doesn't kill Denise. Yeah. Like you can tell it's like visibly angry when it doesn't kill her.
Yep, and it's like, well, I also like that extra touch of like that. It's not enough to just kill her. Everyone who would possibly know
Yeah, it's like anyone
About
who's even like thinking they know anything about it has to die.
yeah, like no one can know what death is
Yeah.
getting up to. Everyone's got to
There's
get it,
something looming in the background and no one knows about it.
and it's gonna clean up everything.
You get it?
And
It's a bad peek behind the curtain.
yeah, and it's just like everything will be clean, and everyone's gonna be dead, and no one's gonna have a fucking clue what the hell happened.
Which is why the mortuary guy had to die.
Yeah, because he was like, "I got this. I'm gonna
The
fucking reveal it."
mortician.
Nope. No, this is great. Like this is, I don't know. Sometimes you watch a slow burn thing like this that is so simple, and you just you really appreciate it.
I was really into it. And I do like slow burns, so I mean it was right up my alley.
Yeah.
And I love like the omnipresent, like paranoid, like kind of horror. We've talked about this quite a bit, but I do like that kind of horror where it's like it's subtle, but it's effective.
Yeah, it's subtle, and then it just kind of gets crazy.
Well, and then it reaches a big crescendo.
Plus with this, or it's like it has those indie vibes, so it's like I don't know, like it's like, you know, none of the actors are like big names. They all look and act like just normal people that you might interact with. Like all the locations. I mean, it's funny because it says in the trivia that they filmed this thing without permits, but it's still like there's like real locations.
You got to admire like how much work went into this and like how good it actually like looks and like how entertaining it is, because there was like you can tell there was virtually no budget
And lots of Christmassy references.
Yeah, which was nice for the season. So if you like
one of the funniest is at her like at like the place where they shoot the commercials. There's like a sign that says like Santa Claus auditions on like floor 8 or something, and there's like one bit where you see like a guy in a Santa Claus outfit just like hurriedly running into the elevator.
when like one of the characters sings a Christmas song.
Yeah, when they're like writing a note. There's a part when like the doctor's on the phone in a phone booth, and there's like one of the like Salvation Army people outside. There's like you know, she's got the Christmas tree in her house. Like,
So it gets the holiday vibes.
it does.
We don't get a lot of like, we had that one Christmas Evil, which was actually really good.
But that was also not a surprise because, I mean, it's in the title.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I mean, I'm just saying, this is not planned.
If you get a chance, go watch Christmas Evil or listen
Also,
to that
yes,
episode, because
watch
it's a good fucking movie. But also
watch this.
seek out Soul Survivor. It is very good. Is it available anywhere that you know of?
I think it should be. I think it might be a little...
Harder to find?
Yeah, it's not quite as hard to find as Impulse. But, I mean, I do know there's ways to watch this. It was obviously released on Blu-ray. And very, very good quality.
Yeah, it looked really good. I have no complaints about like the structure or like how this movie looked.
For me,
I basically have no complaints.
yeah, for my tastes, this is, as they would say, a very fine steak for my tastes. Like,
some people might say it's a little slow, which I guess I can't argue that.
Sure.
But that's the whole point, really.
Yeah, for me, like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where all the ingredients for me come together perfectly.
It just worked. I don't know. I really enjoyed this. The time flew by. It's only an hour and 25 minutes, but it went like lightning fast.
Yeah, and it ends perfectly. There's
good old bleak ending.
well, look, you have to.
In this kind of movie, there's no way.
How could you?
It's like Final Destination. Like, you can't really escape death.
Yeah, like we know, like that's what we're here for.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
like,
I'm here for.
It's a horror movie. It doesn't have to have a happy ending.
With movies like this, it's even better because it's just that thing of like you cannot escape death.
Like the design,
the glitch. Yeah, you lived because of a glitch in the system, and then it'll fix it.
You wrote a check that your ass can't cash.
Yeah, it'll fix the glitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom.
Like she said with the dress.
They fixed it.
It'll eventually fix itself.
which was that is that line.
It's perfect. It literally explained the entire movie.
Yeah.
That is exactly what's going on in the movie, and it's exactly what happens at the end
Even
of the
her
movie.
thing about like, hey, like where she's like, you know, you're talking about like all the people who have survivor syndrome dying. What if they're dying because it found them or got them?
Yeah.
Like, again, it's literally telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Because that little thing of like, there's other people like her
It's telegraphing what's happening.
who also or survive tragic events that they should not survive because death fucked up, and eventually you can run,
Yeah.
but it gets you.
Yeah. Go watch Soul Survivor. It's good. Shitty to pretty. I mean, this is obvious.
It's a 1.
We had a gusher,
It's fucking 10.
and it's a 10.
10 out of 10.
It's 10.
I'm sorry.
It's 10 out of 10.
I'm so sorry.
Listen, it's an entertainment scale, okay? It's not an
No, I know. No, I don't give a fuck. I there are many movies on this podcast that we watch, and I'm just like, I don't know why this is not like
higher up.
up in the stratosphere. I know this one's getting close because there are a lot of people who love this movie.
Yeah. And
This
for
is-
good reason. Now I get it.
This is one of those movies that there are a lot of people who are loving this movie more and more and more and more. So I'm very glad for that.
We need more love for Soul Survivor because it is a very, very well done movie. Expertly crafted by indie filmmakers.
Yeah, like if you like Final Destination and like Carnival of Souls,
It's so good.
that kind of thing, like, or fucking It Follows, like this is, it's there.
Go watch it. If you like those kind of movies, this is literally exactly what you want.
This is exactly that with Christmas.
Yeah, as a huge fan of It Follows, I can say that Soul Survivor does give off those vibes.
Yes.
Very well, I should add. So, if you're looking for something like It Follows, you found it.
This is
You
it.
found it. The predecessor.
Yeah, like listen, it's December. It's got Christmas vibes. There's always people who they try to squeeze in some horror movies during the Christmas season.
Yeah.
Listen,
You can watch Soul Survivor, Christmas Evil, and then the original Black Christmas.
Yes, only.
Yeah.
Do you not watch the remake?
You can watch the 2009 remake. That one's okay.
It's like a little sliding scale.
Just don't watch the newest
You
one.
got the first one, which is a masterpiece. Remake, which was and then new remake.
Which actually maybe will be on the podcast eventually.
Listen, if we
We'll have to
get there,
rewatch it. I've already watched it, but
I have also.
if we ever get to like the high 2010s, because I think it was 2019.
It was very recent.
Yeah, it's like really recent, maybe 2020. I have no idea.
Oh, God.
Like I don't remember the year it came out because I really don't care.
Why would you?
But if we ever catch up with ourselves, we will have to critique it,
If we
which
ever
will be a fun episode actually.
Fun. Okay.
But you got your trilogy of Christmas horror.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, I obviously I'm missing a lot. There's like a ton of Christmas movies that are like,
Sir, I will have you know. Actually, I will actually have you know. I might even make an executive decision here.
what?
There is a film in 1984, a very prominent film in 1984 with Christmas in it.
Maybe we make it like the Christmas episode.
I was gonna say I might make an executive decision and watch that sooner than originally planned
We could do
So we are in
December 18th.
because
That's the I mean, we're not doing the podcast on Christmas, so
no, unfortunately we have
because
lives
that's Sunday. So
and we have lives and people who
you might get the Christmas episode on the 18th, just so you know.
yes. You know what? I probably will do that.
Okay.
'Cause fuck it.
Yeah, so
And
look out for a
because,
Christmas episode.
You know, some of you might already know what it is, and I will have lots of thoughts about it because I do enjoy it because I'm a fucking degenerate.
I have thoughts on what it is, but we'll discuss after. I think I know what it is.
Okay.
So anyway, look forward to that. Look forward to more episodes. And go watch Soul Survivor. That's like my main takeaway from this whole thing. Go watch Soul Survivor. It's a really good movie. Give it lots of love and support.
Yes, give it all.
And then go watch Captain Ron.
Yeah, honestly, like watch this if you feel a little down. Put on Captain.
Put on Captain Ron.
You'll feel great.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah. So, and then Without a Clue.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go watch that as well. If you haven't, it's very underrated.
If you like Sherlock Holmes and Michael Caine
and Ben Kingsley. Yeah. So go watch those three. View this director. He deserves it.
Yes, he deserves more.
And
more
thank you so much for listening. For They Mostly Come Out at Night. This has been Will.
This has been Alex.
And we will talk to you all later.
Bye.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
Happy New Year.